All right. Everybody can see my screen okay? Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you all for having me. We'll do a real quick just introduction about me. I am a clinical social worker at the Nysonger Center at Ohio State University. I mostly work with teens and young adults with autism in our ACE and Aspirations program. And then I am Lend faculty for my social work students and several other professions. So just a tiny bit about me. Okay, so goal for the day really is just to share a little bit about what Charting the Life course is, in general, the principles, and how it can be used in kind of a mental health whole wraparound kind of service way. I'll share some tools, and then also thinking about any cultural variables for individuals you're working with and how those can be tied in as well. Oh, fancy star. Sorry, forgot that was there. All right, so charting the life course. Charting the life course, actually, I lied. Poll. Before I jump into this, can we throw up the poll?
Yep, sorry, one moment. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
So if everybody could fill out that question, that kind of will help me guide our conversation and how in-depth and stuff to go. Okay, so about half of you have never heard of it. A little under half of you know a little bit about it, but not super familiar. And then a couple folks who know nothing about charting the life course. I'm sure you have lots of other knowledge. Okay. Moving on. Okay, so charting the life course. So some of you know this already, but charting the life course is not just a set of tools. It is really a way of thinking. So a way of thinking for all individuals, all age, all abilities, a way to help folks think about and set goals for a good life. Helping them think about what they need to do and identifying steps and supports to help them get to that good life. So again, it's kind of a framework of thinking to help people kind of really break down their lives into kind of different components and think about not just individual supports, but you know, strengths that they have, family supports that they have, and we'll kind of dig into that a little bit more. But a way of thinking to help set some goals. Sorry, lost my mouse. Okay. So we're going to go over the guiding principles kind of briefly, and then I'll kind of dig into each of them. Like I said, charting the life course is for all people. It really looks at an individual within their family systems and cycles. It is across the lifespan, really helps. There's some guiding principles that kind of help break down different stages of life, really to look at those life outcomes. And then we're going to look at some specific life domains, 3 different buckets of support, the integrated support star, and then policy and systems, which we won't really get into today, but it is a guiding principle to charting the life course on how this framework can be used in creating policy and changing systems. Okay, so here's where we're going to kind of break everything down. So we start with the person. We have an individual person, we're thinking about them. There's a couple different tools that help us really look into that individual person. We've got things, tools that help break down, what are our strengths, what are our challenges, what do people like about me, what's important to me. And that is called the one page description. And I'll share an example of that a little bit later. Then we are thinking about that person within their system and within their family and their community. That's an important part of an individual to think about, because we can't just think about an individual's strengths and challenges, but thinking about how a family and community can support that person. Then we have our life domains. So in our life domains, we have daily life and employment, social and spirituality, safety and security, community living, healthy living, and then our citizenship and advocacy. So thinking about these life domains, again, we're not just thinking about one aspect of a person. So say a person is being seen for counseling for anxiety or for depression. We're not just going to focus on that anxiety and depression and school, right? We're going to really think about anxiety and depression within all domains of their life. How does it impact their daily life? How does it impact their social interactions? How does it impact, where they live or who they live with? Specifically in thinking about children, we're thinking about, helping them understand how healthy living might impact their mental health. So we really want to look at all domains of a person. Then we have our 3 buckets of supports. So these are supports that all people need, right? So we have discovery and navigation. This is thinking about skills and knowledge and kind of thinking about, the ability for a person to advocate for themselves or for services or for change. Then we have the green side there, which is connecting and networking. This is really thinking about that social emotional well-being of a person. And then lastly, goods and services. This is kind of those day-to-day supports, probably what most people are thinking about when they are providing support for someone. Yeah, okay, I have nothing else to say there. Moving on. Okay, so then we're getting into our integrated support star. Something to think about here, again, when most people are thinking about providing support to a person, to a child, whoever, a lot of times I think we tend to think and focus on this area, that eligibility specific. So we want to help connect people to resources and that community-based area of support that, your church, your youth center, your, I don't know, your school, things like that. Or eligibility specific, we're thinking about, so if it's a person with an intellectual or developmental disability, connecting them with their county board of DD, connecting them with SSDI or SSI, food resources, housing resources, things like that. But it's also important to think about these other 3 points of our star. So our personal strengths and assets, again, really thinking from that strengths-based perspective. What does this individual person have strengths in, right? Are they super friendly? Are they super, I don't know, smart when it comes to math? How can those things be utilized to support them and to help them have a good life? Then we also need to think about that relationship based. So again, thinking about that family and community, Who are their, who are their close relationships? We're not just thinking family, we're also thinking friends and even acquaintances, who can be that support, who can be those support people. With young adults, oftentimes we're thinking about that transition. Okay, mom and dad aren't going to be around forever. How can we start to build some other relationships that this young adult or teen can rely on in the future? And then lastly, technology. In thinking about the world of developmental disabilities, there's all kinds of different technology that can help in terms of remote support, to help with some of that independence. But even for other folks who don't necessarily have a disability, thinking about how can technology be used to support their daily life? A cell phone, a tablet, even little things like that to help and improve life in general and get towards that goal that they're working on. And then we kind of think about how do all of these things, again, maybe change and adapt through the lifespan. How can we use these ideas and these principles in thinking about transition? So for kids transitioning from elementary school to high school, let's think about all of these different parts of our life and how they are going to change, and what are some of these different supports that we can think about or put in place or maybe highlight to help them through that transition. All right, that's all I got there. So I'm going to go into some examples. I'm not going to read through these. These are a couple different examples how I have used charting the life course. I already kind of mentioned transition. So in my transition diagnostic clinic that I support, we often use that integrated support star to really help families prioritize what areas of their life they want to focus on next once they get a diagnosis. For our, in our aspirations groups, we have both our teens and young adults use a one-page description to help them identify their strengths and help them identify what is important for them. Again, in this situation, we're really using it in terms of advocacy and communication, helping them to be able to communicate those needs to other people. And we have parents do it as well. So oftentimes we'll have our participants and our parents compare their one-page descriptions and just kind of have a conversation about, the different perspectives of their individual life. Okay, here's an example of the one-page, used to be called one-page profile. Now we call it a one-page description. So it's kind of divided into a couple different categories: what others like about me and admire about me, what's important to me, and how to best support me. So again, this can be used in a lot of different ways. If you haven't started to see Charting the Life course in Ohio schools yet, you likely will soon. This is something that we recommend often for folks who have an IEP to kind of be included in their their intro narrative, as well as, meeting new teachers or things like that. I believe you are also going to see Charting the Life course principles and components also brought into ISPs in boards of developmental disabilities, so individualized service plans. Again, these will be great tools to kind of help support those plans in terms of capturing that whole person and focusing on all of the things, not just school, not just services, right? We have a tool called the Good Life Vision. If you kind of look here at Ben's goals, Ben has the things he does want and the things he does not want in life. Oftentimes this tool is used for setting goals, and then along the way you kind of think about in the past what has gotten us to this good stuff and what has gotten us to this bad stuff, and how can we, you know, focus on the good, the things that get us to the good, and avoid the things that take us to the things we don't want. Sorry, I'm using two screens and navigating my mouse is a challenge. This is just an informational slide that you guys can look at going into the deeper points of the life domains. This breaks down the support star that we already talked about. Here's another really great tool I like to use, the goal attainment tool, helping with planning goals and keeping track of progress for those goals. And then just other ideas of how to use this in more of a clinical sense, whether it's like clinical mental health or more, you know, working one-on-one with a child or a family, helping individuals build insight, advocacy skills for both the individual and the family, assessing insight, family support challenges, setting goals, prioritizing goals and setting next steps, strengthening relationships and boosting communication skills. Again, here's more just kind of like resources for you all. Everyone can access these tools, and kind of the general, you know, information on the principles of charting the life course on lifecoursetools.com. Here in Ohio, the Family Resource Network of Ohio, FRNO, is kind of our hub for charting the life course here in Ohio. So you can access some other really great resources there as well, but again, all of the charting the life course tools are there. There's some more in-depth training on charting the life course if it's something you're interested in. You can become an ambassador of charting the life course. That is what I am. I am an ambassador. I am not a trainer, so I'm not training you guys in fully using these tools and resources, but really sharing information on how you could use them and how I use them. And again, we're supported by DODD and the Ohio Developmental Disabilities Council. All right, and that's all I got. Are there questions?